Hello everyone! Today, we'll explore the Philippine-American War, a conflict born from the ashes of the 1898 Spanish-American War. Though the U.S. and Filipino revolutionaries initially fought together to out Spain, their alliance collapsed as America pursued imperial control, sparking a bloody war of conquest. This presentation uncovers the harsh truths like U.S. strategies to suppress Filipino independence, atrocities contradicting democratic ideals, and revolutionaries fight for sovereignty. We'll challenge sanitized narratives and reveal the war's enduring legacy. Let's begin. The Spanish-American War on 1898 ended with U.S. victory, highlighted by Commodore Lewis' destruction of Spain's fleet in Manila Bay on May 1, a bloody triumph for America. Meanwhile, Filipino rebels under Emilio Aguinaldo fought Spain for independence, viewing the U.S. as an ally. But the Treaty of Paris on December 10, 1898 shattered the hopes of many Filipinos. The U.S. bought the Philippines for $20 million, pivoting from ally to colonizer. The three-way negotiation in Manila. Here's the message truth. After Spain lost, Manila became a three-way standoff. The Americans, led by Dewey, rolled in. The Spanish, led by Jaudenes, were cornered, and the Philippine rebels, led by Aguinaldo, circled them, itching for independence. But the U.S. and Spain secretly cut the deal. They picked a battle where Spain handed Manila to America, not Filipinos. Aguinaldo's forces were deliberately excluded from negotiations. This betrayal of trust led to the outbreak of the Philippine-American War, as former allies became adversaries, all stemming from a pre-arranged transfer of colonial control. Lie number 1 on Philippine independence. In 1898, Aguinaldo proclaimed Philippine independence and established a functioning government. However, the United States undermined this act of self-determination by ignoring the declaration, deploying more troops, and secretly arranging the Treaty of Paris with Spain to acquire the Philippines. McKinley's later proclamation formalized U.S. control, shattering Filipino hopes for freedom and leading to armed conflict. Lie number 2. McKinley's benevolent assimilation proclamation. The U.S. publicly justified its rule as a mild sway of justice to prepare Filipinos for self-rule, but McKinley privately prioritized commercial gain in the Philippines. His instruction to Paris negotiations stressed trade expansion, unmasking imperial economic beneath freedom rhetoric.
Lies exposed the discrepancy between how the Philippine-American War was publicly portrayed and the harsh realities behind the scenes. The conflict was now publicized as a heroic insurrection, suppression, concealing that Filipinos were fighting for independence. Letter from the U.S. soldiers later revealed widespread torture used to extract confessions or non-payment of tax, practiced hundreds of times. Atrocities such as burning and looting houses, mass killings, and other brutal actions were committed but suppressed for the U.S. public. This lie covered up the war's brutal acts and the nature of American conduct in the Philippines. Lie 4 now refers to the false claim that the Filipino side started the conflict on February 4th of 1899, which was then used to justify the Philippine-American War. The incident was blamed on the Filipinos' violent attack to secure U.S. Senate ratification of the Treaty of Paris just 2 days later. Evidence suggests meditations by the U.S. with dismissal of Filipino ship workers and deployment of 200 to 300 U.S. soldiers before the incident. American soldiers also stated diplomacy with Emilio Aguinaldo to buy time while witnesses confirmed that the U.S. initiated hostilities. This lie was a strategic manipulation to frame the Filipinos as the aggressors and legitimate American military interventions. In short, US started the whole thing.
Lie number 5. The ugly truth about the Philippines-American War. US spun the war as a crushing insurrection, not Filipinos fighting for freedom. Soldiers later exposed routine torture, for confessions or unpaid taxes, and atrocities like torching villages, massacres, and buried from public view. Lie number 6. The Philippine-American War lasted for 3 years. US claimed victory in 1901 with Aguinaldo's capture, but resistance persisted. Troops shifted south to Mindanao, stalled via the 1903 Bates Agreement, a fake self-rule truce. Full war regenerated by 1913 against Moro communities, ending in massacres like Bad Bagsak. 500 plus people are killed in the war.
For this part, we will tackle the American imperial motive. The US replaced the reign of fame, influence, and to control the Philippines with a lot of economic and military advantages. Because of the US, Filipinos were deprived of self-rule, leading to reforms and revolutions. Just like the forces led by Emilio Aguinaldo, they fought for the independence of the Filipinos of the rule of the Americans, which later on led to the full-scale war. This resulted to the Philippine-American War that took place from 1889 to 1902 and led to many battles and campaigns such as the Manila Campaign, where the Filipinos were split to North and South groups. During this time, Filipinos took a huge loss as many died and victory came from the side of the US. Another is the Iloilo Campaign, where the US captured the Panay Islands with the use of bombs. This resulted in the bombardment and fires that damaged the island. Next is the Malolos Campaign, where many battles took place that resulted in the US winning. Because of this, the capital of Emilio Aguinaldo was captured. And it was said that during the retreat of the Filipinos was set fire to Malolos, which resulted in the widespread destruction. The Malolos Campaign shifted the momentum to the side of the US. And lastly, the Laguna de Bay Campaign, where Filipinos were betrayed by their own blood. This campaign now led to the guerrilla warfare.
Good day everyone. By late 1899, Filipino forces led by Aguinaldo and General Gregorio Delta shifted to guerrilla warfare. Since they could not match American military power, they used ambushes, raids, and the country terrain rice fields, jungles, and mountains to strike US troops and then disappear. Local communities provided food, shelter, and intelligence, which made American control harder. In response, the US used harsh measures: torture through the water cure, burning villages, killing civilians, forcing relocations into camps, and a scorched earth policy to cut off guerrilla support. In short, guerrilla tactics prolonged the war, but also brought severe suffering to the civilian under American limitations.
6 US ministers' Filipino independence claims rebranded imperialism as benevolent assimilation and framed resistance as insurrection to hide premeditated aggression, torture, massacre, and the war's true end. Soldiers suppressed accounts and basic promises perpetuated colonial deception.